our president. There's a time our president was talking about digital jobs. I don't know if you heard that. He was saying, "Finya computer, upate dollar." Did you hear that?
I've heard him talking. I don't want to say anything bad about him on here on this line. But I've heard him talking a lot about, we're going to be, X amount of people to Germany, X amount of people to Canada, but I never see these things happen, right? So,
and it's not that easy, right? I think we were talking about immigration. How realistic is it for Ruto to export this amount of people to Canada, for example?
Ikonini.
Yeah, na hii ni episode fulani special kabisa, na hii ni episode ya kukuchanua, hii ni episode ya kufanya ubaki open your eyes, ubaki see the world, and that's why niko na special guest anaitwa Darcy Fisher. That's your name, yeah?
That is correct.
Yeah, Darcy Fisher. You're from Canada?
Yes, I'm Canadian citizen.
Yeah, I think, are you the first Canadian I've interviewed? Because I've talked to a lot of Kenyans in Canada through, like when you're talking, because I normally have a live show on Friday. So on Friday, like, people join in from all over the world. So yes, I think I've spoken to Kenyans while they're in Canada, but I've never spoken to a Canadian. I've spoken to some Americans, Jamaicans.
I'm surprised by that, because when I go back to Canada, like, you've got a large audience back in Canada that's sitting here watching you today. So
So how's Kenya?
Kenya's beautiful country.
Yeah.
Beautiful country. It feels like home to me. I've been around in and out for many years. Really made the shift here during COVID, working remotely. And, I'm kind of happy to say I haven't seen snow in about 4 or 5 years.
Oh, okay. So you've been around for 4 or 5 years?
Yes.
Without going back, or you go back during the summer?
I have visited twice now in the last 4 years, but I actually was in and out of Kenya many years even before COVID.
Okay. Yeah. Because you were married to a Kenyan, or you're married to a Kenyan?
Was married to a Kenyan.
Okay.
Yes. Three young boys. So I've got 3 young boys. They're studying in Canada right now today.
Okay.
Of course, and people ask me, why am I here? Well, I see my kids' future on this side. Just as much as it would be on Canada, maybe even more over here.
Okay. They were born here, or they were born there?
Born in Canada.
Okay. For that free medical care.
Yes.
Yeah, because I know there's always that aspect of... and how expensive is medicine in Canada? Because I know it's very expensive in the US. They always say the US is like Kenya, where you are one ailment away from poverty. Yeah. How expensive is medicine?
There's a real misconception, actually, to the free healthcare in Canada.
Okay.
Because every dollar I pay in tax, about 52 cents goes to healthcare.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not free.
Yeah.
Right?
But at least you see where your taxes go.
Yeah, you do, right?
Yeah.
Beyond that, our taxes would also go to education, roads, infrastructure, and social programs.
Okay. So, and I don't know if you heard this, but there's been this trend in Kenya where mostly it's Black Americans who come to Kenya, and they come to Kenya looking for women, and they're called passport bros. Have you heard about the passport bros?
I've seen some of them on TikTok recently, and I've seen some of the women on TikTok talking about these guys.
Yes.
I struggle to understand all of it, but I've never met any of them, but I see them on TikTok. Yeah.
Okay, because every time I meet an American and a Canadian, I'm like, where are the passport hoes? Okay. So the first time you came to Kenya was which year?
I think it was back almost 2004.
Oh, 2004.
I'm aging myself now, but that was a long time ago. Yeah.
What were you coming to do?
Visiting at that time.
Okay.
Right? And of course, through my past marriage, I was in and out of Kenya. We visited many years.
Okay.
Here. All my children's, grandparents, aunties, uncles, cousins, they're all here, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, which parts of Kenya have you visited, or is it just Nairobi?
I don't think there's a county now that I have not visited.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm a motorcycle enthusiast.
Okay.
You know, when I get a chance, I hop on that bike and go. I can wake up on a Sunday morning, drive to Nakuru,
Okay.
have lunch, and come back home.
Ride or drive?
Ride.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always find that Kenyan roads are super dangerous. Like, how do you find it?
You know what? I've learned the back ways and there's a couple areas I really enjoy, like Kajiado County and stuff like that. There's not a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
But again, on a motorcycle, like I've spent a lot of years on a motorcycle, so you got to be cautious,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I just find you need to stay away from the traffic, and you're safe.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Because the traffic here is wild.
Yeah.
You'll find some asshole on the wrong side of the road just coming at full speed with his lights on.
Yeah, I would rather ride outside of Nairobi than inside of Nairobi.
Yeah.
Any
Okay.
day. Yeah.
And so when you're talking about Kajiado, is it because there's a road that was supposed to be open? I think it's called Suswa. You go past Ngong and then you that's the one you use.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways through there. That one you speak of, I've taken that, or you can head out to Atha River and then come back in and around. But I like to find, where the tarmac ends and the dirt begins. That's the road I like to travel.
Yeah. Oh, so you just continue on there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And which motorcycle is this? Because I'm assuming it's not a boda.
Kind of like an off-road. Yeah. So it sits up a little bit high. It's got the right tires on it, and it's not far off a boda.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't need to go fast in this country.
Yeah. Oh, so like if you're going to Nakuru, you're just taking like how many hours does that take you?
80 kilometers an hour. You take the back way. Yeah. You'll be there in 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. Have lunch. Come back.
Yep. And that's a nice day for me. That's a day off.
Yeah,
it's serenity.
That makes sense. And like the most interesting county you've gone to, according to you, like which one was memorable, either because of the food, the people?
You know what? I really like Nini, Mount Kenya area.
Okay.
You know that it's got a nice breeze. There's a chill there, and of course, being a Canadian, I like that. There's many counties that are beautiful, like Miro. Of course, the coast is nice.
Yeah.
Eldoret area, another beautiful area, beautiful agricultural. The farms are beautiful, and it kind of reminds me of home a little bit. Kisumu. I love Lake Victoria. I grew up near the Great Lakes in Canada, so to go to Lake Victoria, the second largest lake in the world, it just kind of feels like home. The smell of the water and everything.
I expected you to say Mombasa because of the weather, or you also find it to be too humid.
It is hot.
Yeah.
Just sometimes too hot for me, but I bear it, of course, right? The ocean's beautiful to swim in.
Yeah, because for me, Mombasa, I always look at it as a place to just go chill a few days, then get the hell out. Like the weather is not, you can't enjoy that every day.
Yes.
Like at some point it gets...
It would be a struggle not to live there all the time, right?
And riding as a white man in Africa, the police, what happens? Do they want bribes? Do they want to see your passport?
They do, but I've been around long enough that I've learned to wear sunglasses.
Okay.
And I don't look at them, and I just keep going. Right?
Okay.
and they...
Yeah, and the helmet.
Yep.
So they can't figure out, they'll just...
Yep. If you don't make eye contact, they're not gonna want you.
Okay. Yep. And driving, or you just love riding?
Just love riding. It's always been I was born on motorcycles almost, and it's always been something that I've enjoyed to do. And it's a great way to see the country, right? It's for me it's serenity.
Yeah,
right?
makes sense.
I get in my space and I ride.
Yeah.
Right?
So in Canada, what's your motorcycle? Harley.
I've had almost every motorcycle that you can think of in Canada. I've kind of dumped them off, many years ago when I knew I wanted to make that, switch to this country and downsized a little bit back in Canada. So right now I'm a lot more established here in Kenya than I would even be in Canada. Okay.
Yeah. And here, have you joined the motorcycle clubs? Because they're there?
I see them. I haven't joined them, but I have I get along. I have a lot of friends here in Kenya, and even some of the boda guys I'll get out and ride with sometimes. I see them around. They're outside the building where I live. They're down the street. Them are your friends.
Yeah.
When you really become a Kenyan, them are your friends are the ones on the street, right? So them guys I can ride with from time to time.
Okay. Yeah, because there's another thing you're telling me that I found to be interesting. You're talking about the fact that you've struggled learning Swahili because of dyslexia.
I have.
Okay.
Even learning English, writing, reading has always been a struggle for me. So, that said, I think, at this point in life, I've realized that it's easy to learn. There's just different ways to learn.
Okay.
Right?
I think so. So, but all your time in Kenya, you've lived in Nairobi.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Lived in
Many
Nairobi.
different parts of Nairobi I've lived in over the years.
Okay.
Last couple of years I have been in Kilimani. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And which industry were you working in before you came to Kenya?
So I've worked in a variety of sectors and industries in Canada. Anything from manufacturing. I've spent about 10 years in healthcare. I've done some government work. Even some oil and gas work. Spent a little bit of time in the social space, right? And that's sort of what led me to Kenya in that nonprofit or NGO world. Came to Kenya, and since that time, I've been focusing mainly in two areas. One of them being education, and the second one being job creation.
Okay. And before we even talk about that, I wanted to ask you about oil and gas, because lately I was even talking about it on the podcast that I've started watching this. It's an American series, and it's called Landman. So starring Billy Bob Thornton. You know him?
I know Billy Bob Thornton.
Yes, the actor. And it's made me realize that that's such a dangerous job. Like people die, like the amount of accidents. Like I've seen on that series, I think it's right now it's episode 5. People have died from an explosion. There's been the pipes just falling on someone. And how dangerous is oil and gas?
I've done a couple stints of it in my past, and it's likely the most dangerous or ruthless environment to be in. I've experienced temperatures as low as minus 57. And, where we were drilling for oil, there was bears, so there's the environmental risks are huge or high. And of course, when you drill, there's pressure in the ground, right? So, when pressure releases itself, it can be very dangerous, right? You're working with a lot of chemicals, a lot of very,
flammable
equipment, right? Just large, significant infrastructure and equipment on an industrial scale. So it can be dangerous, very dangerous. Yes.
Just
wasn't for me. Wasn't my thing, right?
Because personally, I also feel the same. Like if I was somewhere and someone burned to death, the next day I'm not showing up. I think like they are.
But, I can say, like, I have a friend here in Kilimani. His last name would be Kamata, and I seen him do 6 months, 6 years in oil and gas sector in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, and he did it very well. It was his thing. He did very well at it.
Because but there has to be an element of luck to survive for six years in such a dangerous.
Well, I think you get to be my age and you realize there's you need a lot of luck to survive sometime.
Okay. So, but by the time you're coming to Kenya, what were you doing so that now you ended up?
So when I made the move the last time to Kenya, it was job creation. Mainly in the SME sector. Inside of Kenya. Yes.
Okay. So how do you end up wanting to do that? And you're in Canada, because I'm assuming you said you're from
Edmonton.
Yeah. Okay. In Kenya, we say Edmonton.
Yes.
We pronounce every letter. Okay. So you're from there, you take your flight, you come to Kenya, I'm assuming with your family, with your wife?
Yeah, they've been back and forth many times.
I know that specific time when now you decide, I have to do something.
It was during COVID.
Okay. Yeah.
When I made the shift, I was actually in the social sector, nonprofit sector, supporting an organization that supported people with disabilities.
Okay.
You know, I was here for well over 6 months that time, working remotely, and in fact, you know, but people didn't even know I was in Kenya. Right?
Yes,
we were all
yes.
working online during COVID. That being said, you know, after being here for so long, you can start to, you know, once you start living within, you start to feel and realize the challenges that do exist here, right? So, I've always had that interest of, you know, job creation, right?
Yes.
What can we do to create more jobs for the youth? You know, I look at the youth coming out of school nowadays. They're so talented, they're educated, right?
Yeah.
They've adopted technology, but there just isn't that opportunity for them here in this country.
Yes.
Right. You know, so throughout that journey, and through a partnership, I met Yves Bagaza.
Okay.
It was a startup established in 2022.
Okay.
And you know, we've been on a journey since that point of time, and that's where EIA Academy was created.
EIA means?
Earn in Africa.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. And basically, it's about remote jobs, yes?
Yes, there's kind of two functions or purposes of the organization. So it's an academy. We educate people. Okay, but our purpose is to create that pathway to a job, not just in Kenya, but outside of Kenya. We're focusing right now mainly on USA, but we will focus all around the world.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And so there's another thing you told me that I found to be interesting. You're saying that you've looked at a few Kenyan, we call them CVs, you call them resumes, yes?
Yes.
And you're saying that there's this way that you feel like our resumes don't stand out. They don't make you want to employ a Kenyan.
I've spent enough time here, and I've worked with enough people in Kenya. There's a lot of cultural and societal differences.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, if I look at soft skills, you know, the soft skills that are needed to, you know, work in the workplace.
Yeah.
You know, that's much different in the West than it would be in Kenya. You know, Kenya, not all organizations, but there's a little bit of a hierarchy and an autocratic structure to organizations. You know, you get told what to do and you do that. And but it's not always the way the Western companies operate. So soft skill development and what you're referring to is
what do you mean by soft skill? If you could elaborate.
Yeah.
Like
communication, a good one. Right? So good examples would be if you told me that you were coming, I wouldn't know what that means.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You could be in Kisumu, getting ready to board a bus, right?
Yes. Yeah.
As a Westerner, I want to know what time you're going to be here, right? Life is busy on that side, right? So to hear, even communication, you know, clear, concise, precise communication, them are all the things that are necessary to work in the West.
Yeah.
You know, being able to present yourself, right? Screen on, camera on all the time, right? Not sitting in the dark with your camera off on a meeting, right? Like there's very different expectations in the West when it comes to working online. There's a variety of soft skills that need to be developed. And, we would take people through an assessment, gather a baseline, you know, see where their strengths and weaknesses, I like to say strengths and stretches are, and focus on a couple of the stretches or the weaker areas and concentrate on that and develop them, right?
Yeah, because one thing that stood out was when you're describing the Kenyan CV. Could you describe it again? And then we can go maybe.
Yeah, that's a good one. If I was to post a job here.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I could post a job and I could receive 1,000 CVs.
Yes.
And they're that, and I don't know where this was taught. I'm guessing in the education system. They're that CV where, you know, at the top it says your name, your date of birth, your faith. You know, so you're Christian. Are you married or not?
Yeah.
You know, your ID number, and then there's that standard introduction, right? That's not
educational background.
Yeah, that's not a cover letter that the West would even accept, right? You know, there's even personal information on that. We would never ask that of anyone in the West, right? So
what wouldn't you ask for? Because of course you need my name, but you don't care if I'm married, yeah? You don't care about my faith, yes?
No.
What else do we know? We normally even put hobbies. That's some bullshit.
Yeah, like this is the I don't know, the way I think maybe the education taught people.
Yeah, that's how we were taught. Like,
and it's not the standard or the international standard for the global marketplace.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, because even the hobbies have to change. Like nowadays, it's one of your hobbies sending memes. You know, like it's a digital world right now. Okay.
And you know, another thing, I'd get resumes here with you know, that are 8-10 pages long.
Okay.
Right. Every certificate, every you know, and I think here in Kenya they do ask for all that stuff. So it's fair to assume that that's required everywhere, but it's not.
In the Western world, how many pages?
2 pages max, right? References available upon request, right? You don't need to attach them there, right? You don't need to attach your certificates. If they want them, they will ask for them.
Yeah.
Right? At a later time, right? But your resume and your cover letter, it's got to pop. It's got to stand out, right? That recruiter or that hiring manager, they're going to look at that for 3, at the most 10 seconds, right? They're not going to read it. Right? They're going to look at it. It's got to stand out. It's got to look good. Then you're going to get into the, you know, the pile of 10. Yeah. Right? That's when they're going to read it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. So if you're writing your CV, how do you keep it to 1 page? Like what would I see if I was going through your resume?
You would identify you know, why you were interested in the job, right? Okay. How your skills would match the requirements of that job.
That's the cover letter.
Yeah.
What about the resume?
Resume would be your educational background, your work experience. Are the 2 main components.
So educational background, do I need to put, we call it primary, you call it elementary. Do I need to put where I went for elementary?
No.
That's some irrelevant shit, right?
But all that would be on a cover letter or resume here in Kenya, but you would not send that
high school?
Anywhere. No.
So it's just university and then work experience.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. And of course, I'm guessing the US and Canada are very close when it comes to that, yeah?
Yeah, we are neighboring countries. So, you know, from a cultural or societal level, we're very similar, right? We work the same, right?
Okay, makes sense. Because even another thing that we talked about before we started shooting was the politics and the way like American politics is also creating, like Canadian politics is starting to create the same American pattern.
Yes. Yeah. I think the recent election, not just Canada, the recent election has some influence all around the world. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
And I think we're starting to see that in Canada as well. You know, more of a conservative leaning approach is coming in, right? Yeah. Is what we're seeing. Yeah. So it's going to make things, you know, even immigration, right? It's going to... You know, I would, you know, the way things are right now, you know, immigration has been pretty open the last few years, you know, especially since COVID, you know, in European, Australian, Western countries, they're starting to pull back. So it's going to be much more difficult over the next several years to immigrate to these countries. Yeah.
And what do you feel about this? Because when I'm talking about it on the podcast, I always say that liberals moved the needle too far. It reached a level where we were debating on gender. We'd be like, you're not a man. Like if you showed up and you told me you are a woman and with your full-grown beard, I'm just supposed to accept that, And I felt like we went too far. Our like American liberals, I always put it as American liberals, went too far. And now the world is trying to reset itself back to common sense.
There certainly is a correction happening, right? If it doesn't take too much news nowadays to see what people are saying, but I agree. Like, it really went far to the left. As a taxpayer, right? I feel I should be able to view, or I guess pose my view on that, and I'll be pleased to see somewhat of a correction right into the future.
Okay. And now in Canada, what do you expect to happen? Is Trudeau going to survive? Or Trudeau has are there term limits in Canada?
This is his third term. He lost his deputy prime minister 2 days ago.
Okay.
Christy Freeland, and she's been at his side since the beginning.
She resigned?
Yes, she did.
Why?
Well, he was offering her another job.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'd be surprised if Trudeau makes it to October is our next election of next year. In fact, I think Canadians are surprised that he makes it week by week right now. There's that much of a force against him. I think 80% of Canadians right now are not a fan of Trudeau anymore. So,
but how did you win 3 terms if you...
the first one, what was that, 2015, he captured the youth, legalized marijuana, right? He had that charisma, that charm, them fancy socks, and he had that feminist, active feminist. He danced down that road for many years. He hung on because through COVID, and he had a snap election during COVID. The Conservative government just was never ready. Right. So, but the polls now would show the last 2 years, Canadians want him gone. Right. They've had enough. Right. And it's just a matter of, how to make it happen. Right.
Yeah. Because I think after the Trump was elected, I saw a video that he did, and he was talking about immigration. He was like, it's time to look at it again.
Yeah.
Okay. But what do you think is going to happen to those jobs? Because there are also jobs that Canadians don't want. There are jobs that Americans don't want. So those jobs need immigrants. So what happens?
Well, if you look at Canada right now, I think there is a 6 or 7% unemployment rate. Right. So people are right now actually struggling when they're there to find jobs, right? So there's the economy, there's been so much inflation. The economy is struggling there as well too in Canada. The US, I think, is doing a little bit better. They're seeing more growth, more GDP growth. But it's going to take some time, after the governments need to quit printing money, right? I think our deficit that was reported 2 days ago was $61 billion, right? Just a little bit, right? So, and how do we pay that? We print more, right? That devalues our currency. Right. Our dollar's worth about 68 cents today to an American dollar. Right. So it's a struggle.
Yeah, because it shows you. I think that's the reason why Bitcoin is getting more popular by the day. Yeah. Did you jump on the Bitcoin train?
Of course. Of course. I jumped on it again coming in. When Trump was forecasted to win the election, I knew that would be a good time to
How much
get
was
in
it
on
by
it.
then?
I would only know the percentage, but from the time I got in, and it was about 3 weeks. From the time I got in to the election, it was 35%.
Oh, 35%.
Right? So
that's
it's a
good.
quick win, right?
Yeah,
and then
that's
get
good.
back out again because you don't know what's going to happen
Yeah, because
tomorrow.
I think it's going to retrace. So I'm hoping, personally, I'm hoping it retraces to 60,000, and then at that point I can buy something, but not for myself, just for my daughter. I'm like, this.
Yeah.
And
it's fun. I'm not big into it. I like to play a little, right? Just to keep intimate with it, right? And it's
and it's a good way to save because they're not printing more bitcoins. It's the 21 million. And the story ends. Yeah, because with dollars, especially, but with American dollars, I always find it interesting. I don't look at Canadian dollars the same, but with American dollars, I always understand why they print them, because selling the dollar is work. It's also something. It happens. Like it's the most used currency. That's why Trump was like, he does not want this BRICS bullshit. Because that would affect the dollar.
But he'll help that economy, I believe. Trump will, right? He's shown us that before. Of course, with any leader, you can always look and say, like, there's pros and cons to any leader, right? But I think from an economy, their engine, I think Trump will help that.
Okay.
Right?
And then now back to creating jobs, yes? So that's what EIA is trying to do.
Yes, we're and I wouldn't say creating. I would say to bridge that gap. That exists, right? Business process outsourcing, right? It's something. It's not new to the world. There's many other companies here in Kenya that are providing that service here today, mainly inside of Kenya. But we believe. And you look at the research and the business process outsourcing, that global job market is on a continued rise. Right? If you were sitting in Canada today or in America today and you were calling, your internet company or your telephone company, you're calling someone in India or the Philippines, right? So it's not new. This has been around a long time. Eves and I, we at EIA Academy, we really believe Kenyans are in a good position to compete in that global job market, right? So what are we trying to do? We're trying to get that skill. We're doing the research in the other countries, identifying where the jobs are, right? We're providing education surrounding those job areas, taking them through them programs. We've got and we'll be as we bring partners on from the West, we will be announcing them, right? Getting to that point of providing internship opportunities for people. But I have my own belief as well too. I do believe strongly that if we can teach people how to find a job, they're more likely to find a job on their own before I even can link them to anyone, right? So I'm really excited about that, right? And again, we've got I think there's 55,000 uni students graduating every year, right? That doesn't include polytechs, colleges, any high schools. There's a vast amount of talent that are ready to work, right? Kenyans, they fully adopted technology, right? We've got good Wi-Fi, we've got good internet. We've got all the rest, all the ingredients to compete in that global job market.
Okay. Because you're talking of things like customer care, where you can call an American company and the person who picks up is speaking in an Indian accent. And you're saying that that's an opportunity you see the Kenyans can explore.
They Kenyans have very good English speaking skills. Right? customer support is one area, digital marketing is another area, and I've got a few notes here. And another area that we, through our research identified was medical billing.
Okay.
So medical billing, and I'm going to read this out here so I don't mess it up.
Yeah.
But medical billing is, what we would train people in as key areas such as coding, billing procedures, insurance claims, and reimbursement processes, right? These are things that the hospitals and the clinics need in the West, and these are the types of jobs that they will call contract out for business process outsourcing, right? So we're our research and we're building those partnerships in the West, and as we bring these organizations on, I'm really looking forward to the day we can start introducing them to the skilled Kenyans that are ready to work.
Okay, so that's basically what you're trying to do, like partner with companies in Canada and the US.
Yes, we're focusing on the US now.
Okay, the US. Okay.
We are looking around the world, right? There's a number of other areas. Certainly Silicon Valley will be one of those areas. There's a few other countries around the world. We're trying to identify the countries that are accelerating quicker in business process outsourcing, right? And we'll target them first.
Okay. And then now, so EAI has classes, yes? So how much is the course?
Our customer support and our digital marketing courses, they're 24,000 shillings for the course. Yes.
How long is the course?
It's 3 months long. The medical billing is 36,000. The duration of it is 5 months long. So there's a lot more that it covers.
Why is medical billing more expensive? Is it more lucrative?
It's the amount of learning, the amount of content. There's a lot more there. Especially around the systems and stuff that are used for medical billing. So there's more to medical billing than the other courses.
Okay. And of course, like if someone is trying to invest 24,000 shillings or 36,000 shillings, they want to know like how much is the pay? Like if you want to get a job. Like if you have to get a job and it's minimum wage, how much would I be looking at?
Well, based on our research, I couldn't speak for minimum wage in the U.S., but our research is saying, customer support, if it was and it depends, there's a range here. We're seeing anything, I think, from around like $1,800 a month, up to 3,000, and I'd have to go back and check some of my numbers on here. But these remote jobs at a full-time level can be a couple $1,000s a month, right? But of course, there's always part-time. There's always contract type work as well too, right? And that's something as well about call it Kenyan work culture. Like we've got this gig economy going on here, right? So everyone's trying to pick up these little gigs, and there's and I think that's where falls in line with some of the areas like digital marketing.
Yeah, because for Kenya, $1,500 a month. If I'm working remotely, and I'm in like one of these rural areas, that's a very good.
Yeah. Right.
But
it would depend on the organization. It would depend on your contract with the organization. But again, it's happening here already.
Yeah.
It's going to be happening more in the future, right? We're going to really focus on trying to bring the right organizations this side, right?
Okay. Yeah, because even like when I was talking about the $1,500, if you're living, because if it's a remote job and you're living in a country, it's very good money. If you're living in Nairobi, it's good money.
Yes.
Because the cost of living here is also, and you don't have the things of transport.
Yes.
Because you're working through the internet, and that actually helps a lot. And but now I've also had people say that getting these jobs, you can have the skills, but getting the jobs is really hard. So when you say that you teach someone how to get a job, how does that work apart from writing the cover letter and the CV?
Yeah, so it's a very good question. We would generally start with the soft skills.
Okay.
Right? without soft skill development, right?
Yeah.
And without a focus on that, I wouldn't suggest anyone go down that road and try to have an interview if you're not prepared for it. But the job search program itself, we would identify all the again, that's a world that's continuing to evolve and grow. You know, the job search areas, all the different websites, right? Like, you know, of course, you know, me, the old guy, I'm familiar with Indeed and LinkedIn. But there's hundreds of these sites out there now, right? There's JobFlex. There's a whole bunch of new sites that are out there. So we're gathering all of them, you know, making that available for people. You know, and again, these are learnings for a lot of people. And then really teaching them about the process, you know, right from, you know, searching for an organization, you know, right? Doing your research on that organization before you ever draft a cover letter and resume. It's not, you know, the global job market. There's no I would say job application out there where you can just push the easy button and submit your last application. It'll never work, right? You really have to put some effort into it.
All over the world, people are applying for the same job.
Yes. And everyone's pushing the easy button. So if you want to stand out, you got to be, you got to do something a little bit different.
Okay. And so you explained medical billing, digital marketing. In this situation, what are we talking about?
Yeah, and it's a cool one. You know, for me, you know, I'm not really a techie guy, right? You know, but I sat through the course itself, and you know, I've noted some things here. You know, social media management, pay per click. Advertising, email marketing, search engine optimization. You know, this is what I've got noted here. But when I was participating or observing it, you know, they're doing this very in-depth technical Google campaigns and creating these campaigns and you know, like marketing at a level that, you know, I didn't even know existed. Right? Very technical. Very technical.
Okay. And you're saying that also the advantage that Kenyans have is our time zone? You're saying that we can work with Americans?
Yeah, and you know, I've experienced this myself mainly since 2020, right? Because I've, you know, Kenya, I've got my day. I could be doing my thing throughout the day, but at, you know, 6 p.m. at night, New York, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, right? So the business is starting, right? So I've now got 6 p.m. till midnight to, you know, keep on top of my work, right? And you know, I guess I am a little bit Kenyan where I can get more than one thing happening at the same time, right? So it's nice.
Yeah, because it's normally 9 to 5. So when there's no daylight saving, I think 9 here will be, is it 4 p.m.? So it's 4 p.m. to midnight.
And it really depends. You know, Canada, I think we've got 6 different time zones, right? You know, and then there's daylight savings time, right? So, but generally our evenings are their mornings, right? And that's if it's an organization that works 9 to 5. There's, you know, the Western world, it's that job market there, it runs 24/7, right? So you know, the time zone really is an advantage here in Kenya. You know,
because if it runs 24/7, that means you can just work Kenyan hours, and you're working remotely. Because I think that's the best thing about remote work is you can work from the house.
I really like the convenience of it, right? You know, and of course I'm fortunate. I got the right equipment. You know, I got a good laptop. I got the Wi-Fi in my pocket. I got the earbuds and, you know, the battery backup, and I can find myself sitting in Uritha Park under a tree, right? Having a meeting with the breeze going by, right? Take in my meeting and, you pack my bag and walk home, right? It's and Kenya's such a beautiful, the environment's so beautiful, right? But there is a lot of benefits. That being said, there's an ugly side to it too, right? Did you experience the nationwide power outage last night?
Yeah, last night, yes.
Guess what I was doing at 1:00 in the morning?
You're working.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? I had my battery backup. I had candles in behind me so that others could see me online. And I had my my extra Wi-Fi just in case I lose my power.
Yeah.
And I had meetings from 1:00 in the morning till 3:00 in the morning.
Okay.
Right?
What time did the lights come back?
I'm not sure. They were on when I woke up this morning, right?
Okay.
But they weren't. They were still off at 3:00 in the morning, and my batteries were running low.
Because the fact that I run a home studio, that means I have the power backup, so I was good. But I think around 2 a.m. I was like, no, maybe it's time to sleep.
Yeah.
What sort of power backup do you have?
I just have the little. I think they're 30 or 40,000. And just for my computers and I always leave my extra Wi-Fi device on the charger.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So when I lose my house power, I still got one extra Wi-Fi device.
Okay, but I think like the fact that you're fully Kenyan, you need to take one of these.
I like that one. I was thinking of taking
one
it
of these
home with me if you're looking the other way.
Yes, because what it helps is when the electricity goes off, you're like, okay.
Yes.
I think I even lost the video because when the lights went off, I was actually shooting.
Yeah.
So it was around, I think, 1 a.m. I was here, I was shooting something, and then the lights just went pop. Yeah. I was like, but I remembered I have power backup, so I just continued with it. But Nairobi is.
But as you see, like these are the things that you need to be prepared for.
Yeah.
Right. If you're working, you can't. You can't just say, "Oh, I lost my power. I'm not going to be joining today." Right?
Yeah, you have to invest in yourself.
Right?
Yes, you have to invest. Like the only thing that can justify is if the government decides to shut down the internet, and that even your employer will see on the other side that the internet was shut down. Yes. Right. But in this situation, you try Starlink also, and you see, like, what happens with that? Okay. So right now, EIA, is there like a schedule? Like there's this course that starts from this to this, or every individual just starts when they start?
Yeah. So we graduated our digital marketing class just recently in November. Intake is now open for digital marketing, customer support, and medical billing. Those classes are planned to begin mid to late January.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're receiving a lot of calls. Right. I think we're at a 30% booking right now. We've got a customer support team in place here in Nairobi.
Yeah.
Most of them are even working remotely.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
We want to do what we're as we learn. And the phones are ringing. A lot of people are calling.
Okay. But you're saying like some people are asking for job guarantees.
Yes, if there's been a question that I've heard asked many times, it's, if I pay this 24,000 shillings, are you certain I'm going to get a job? And I've and as much as I would love to say that we can do that, I can't say that, right? That's not, some people even learn that, remote working isn't really their thing, right? But what I can say is we want to continue to knock down the barriers that exist, and it would, I want to strive to get everyone that's a job, but I also know it's not going to be likely that everyone gets a job, right? But we're going to try.
Okay. And then with these things, someone might also say, I'll learn all this and then AI can replace me. So AI, artificial intelligence.
That's actually an area. We don't have it here in our curriculum now. But of course, as we continue to evolve as an organization. We've already identified AI to be one of our topics that we're bringing in here. We've got to keep up with where the world's going. But I want to believe that AI is not going to replace everything in this world, right? And it could be one of those things where there's also a correction in it. I'm a social guy. I like the one-on-one human touch, and you can tell the difference when it comes to AI, right? That you're not speaking with a human, so or working with a human. So we'll see where that goes. It's something we've got our radar on. The West is really running with AI. We want to bring that knowledge here, right? And ensure that Kenyans have that opportunity to see where it's going and evolve with it.
Okay. But you said like mostly when you're teaching people, you're teaching them for the American market, yes?
Yes.
How different is it from the Canadian market?
Canadian American, it's interchangeable, right?
Yeah.
Our cultures and our work cultures and our societies are very similar. We'd work the same. You would never tell the difference when you're back there if you're working with an American or a Canadian. Maybe a little bit of accent, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And some differences around choice of food, right? What we're having for lunch, but generally we operate the same. So much of the North American job market already is interchangeable. Organizations exist in both countries, right?
Okay. When you talked about food, it made me curious. Is obesity a problem there? Like fatness? Is it a problem in Canada as it is in
It is, it is. I think it is all over the world. I see it here as well too. I know the West would have a lot more regulation. On things like sugar, and good example would be the amount of sugar in a soda. Right. I love the taste of a soda here in Kenya. Towards a taste of a soda there, you can tell there's a difference in the sugar, right?
Yes.
But there's health problems as well in the West. When I look at the West, I think one of the biggest ones is addictions and mental health. Right. It's a society that's been driving hard, right? It doesn't have that social fabric that I would say Kenya has a little bit more of, right? You don't you don't have that work-life balance. You work when you're living and working there, right? And it's one of the beautiful things about Kenya. I work from home, but there's not a day goes by where I don't walk down the street to have a fruit with Catherine, who makes me a fruit, right? Across the street, I'll grab a couple eggs, right? And you can have some good food, talk to a few people, and there's certainly a family, right, that you can have around you in Kenya, right?
Because I've been like when I talk to Kenyans in America, they say that America gets super lonely because of that. For them, you're in a foreign land, and then on top of that, you have to work. Like for you to just live decently, you have to maybe do 2 jobs, 16 hours, and then you see no one because everyone is working. Maybe when you're working, so it's crazy.
And we also have the environmental changes, right? Edmonton, it can experience 5-6 months of winter, right?
Okay.
There's at the worst time in the winter, the sun will come up at 9 o'clock in the morning and go down by 3:30 in the afternoon, right? So you've got that variation in daylight time and everything. The weather, of course, you're gonna stick at home, right? You don't want to be out when it's cold like that, right? Cold and dark, and so it can be a challenge there for not just for immigrants, but even Canadians, right? It's a big change, big cultural change.
Okay. And as we finish up, there's something you're telling me about Invest in Africa. Yes.
Invest in Africa. It's a Kenyan-based nonprofit. supported it in the past, continue to support them today.
Yes.
It's a nonprofit that focuses solely on empowering MSMEs here in Kenya. Through access to skills, access to markets, and access to finance. So those are the 3 focus areas. And its purpose is to try and to create more jobs in Kenya through businesses. Great little organization. I encourage everyone to check it out.
Okay, so there's a website?
Yeah, it's got a website. I'm currently acting as the chief operating officer there as well too.
Yeah. So which opportunities do you see? Like if you are pitching to an American or a Canadian, where would you tell them to invest in? Like, what do you think is going to be big in Africa maybe in a few years' time that's already big in the first world? Because I always talk about things like YouTube, for example. Like when this started out in Kenya, when we started taking it seriously, I think in Kenya we started actually really taking it seriously around COVID. Around COVID. That's when people are like, you know what, the digital. But I remember like seeing other people starting like around 2017. And they used to wonder like, this thing makes no sense.
What are they doing? What are they trying to do? Right?
But by that time in America, it was already big. Yes. So what do you see there, like America, Canada, that's big that you feel at some point Kenya will catch up?
You know what? There's so many areas already here in Kenya where you have caught up. Right? Right? You know, I look at infrastructure, right? You know, the amount of buildings and apartments, and they're as flush as they are here in Kenya, as they can be in the West. Roads are continuously getting better here in Kenya. You know, water. I drink my water in Kenya. Right? I drink it out of the tap. Right? You know, 20 years ago or 15 years ago, I wouldn't want to try that, right?
Or even in American Flint.
Right? So there's a lot of improvements in society here. So I don't know if there's you know, when you ask the question about where would you invest in, there's a lot of businesses succeeding here. Right? You know, I think I look at the restaurant industry alone, like they're full. You can hardly get a seat in any restaurant anytime, right? So people are, you know, eating out. Buildings are being filled up. You know, as soon as they're built, they're occupied. There's a lot of investable areas. But I'm a little bit old school. I'd want to look backwards in time, right? What did Kenya really do well with, right? You know, I think. You know, 2004, I remember, you know, even things like flowers, right? In this country, right? Used to contribute so much to the GDP, right? And it doesn't anymore, right? And I wonder why, right?
Okay, it doesn't?
Yeah, not like it used to. Not like it used to. But, you know, Kenya's, I think there's a lot of investable areas, right? You know, and we'll see in the future.
We'll see. We'll see. Because I always know that tech stuff, it takes time. But so now I think with the more that the internet is getting faster and faster, because right now we have like gigabit internet. That was not there. So in 2024 we have that. So the question is, what's going to happen with all this fast internet? And then I had that, I don't know if you had this, but China has already sent satellites into space to fight Starlink. I think Europe also, the EU does not want to rely on Starlink. So I expect all this to push internet prices down.
Canada's developing their own competitor to Starlink right now. Right? So, but you're right. Like I think in an investable area, tech, Kenya, you know, it's I guess the challenge will be, you know, the odds, right? You really got to have something good, right? Right? But there's innovation here. There's a lot of innovation here, right? And the right minds are here, so there'll be stars in the future.
Okay, man. Looking forward to that. So, Yeah, Darcy, thank you for your time. And if people want to reach you, like how do people reach you or your website?
Yeah, we can drop a link here
Yeah. Okay.
in the video, a link to EIA Academy.
Okay.
There's right through that link you can book a call,
Okay.
speak to one of our representatives. They'd be happy to take you through our programs and what we're offering, and
Yeah.
that would be welcomed.
Yeah, and I think the future is remote jobs and
It
remote
is.
working.
Yeah.
The future is working from home, and working from home comes with a lot of advantages.
It does. And
yeah,
there's there's pros and cons to it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You know?
Yes. The cons is the fridge is too near.
Yes, that's one of them.
Yeah. So there's that where it can end up affecting your health because you don't move as much as you need to.
Yeah.
But when you look at the other stuff, like in Nairobi, think about traffic, like in the evenings and all that.
It's a struggle, right?
Yeah. As soon as you take care of the power blackouts,
I
from home.
really like wearing dress clothes from the waist up. Nothing else. Great benefit from working from home.
Yeah, working from home, it's fun. Yeah. So this has been Darcy Fisher. The funny thing is, the other Fisher that I know is also a Canadian. He's a DJ. Right now, I think he's based in Tanzania. But I don't think you know him. He's called Bartholomew Fisher.
That I don't know.
Yes, no. Bartholomew Fisher. I think he is from T-Dot, Toronto.
Yep.
Yeah. And at any point, have you ever listened to rap music?
I've been around. I can pretty much listen to anything if it's got a good beat.
No, the reason I'm asking is because like one of my favorites, but there's this whole rap battle thing, and there used to be this rapper called Pat Stay.
Yes.
I don't know if you knew about him.
Yeah.
So when I heard that he was killed in Canada, I was like, Canada has knife crime? Yeah. I didn't expect that. I expected that to be more of an American thing then.
No, the challenges exist there too. Crime is even one of those things that has steadily increased since COVID in Canada, right?
And why? Lack of jobs? Or?
I'm sure it's multi-cause. I'm guessing there's a lot of reasons to it, right? It's again, the reality is life is not easy anywhere in this world, right? No matter where you are in the world. So again, if you can work remotely from Kenya, I'm here to tell you that this is a great country to be in, right? Great country, compared to the rest of the world. And the other beautiful thing about Kenya, and I also know this, like if someone is working, from that village 3 hours from Nairobi, they're also feeding the village, right, and it's helping a lot of people. So, so it's a good thing.
And this has reminded me of our president. There's a time our president was talking about digital jobs. I don't know if you heard that. He was saying, "Finya computer, upate dollar." Did you hear that?
I've heard him talking. I don't want to say anything bad about him on here on this line. But I've heard him talking a lot about, we're going to be, X amount of people to Germany, X amount of people to Canada, but I never see these things happen, right? So,
and it's not that easy, right? I think we were talking about immigration. How realistic is it for Ruto to export this amount of people to Canada, for example?
I don't see it being realistic at all, right? With the immigration processes, the way they're designed. And, even if I look abroad now, Canada, Australia, UK, all the countries, they're going backwards in immigration, right? They're reducing their targets, not increasing their targets. So they're making the policies stronger to keep people out, right?
And also, what's the reality? Because I think that one of the things that the president he portrays the Western world like it opens up its arms for immigrants. That's not the truth.
It's not the truth.
The ground is hostile.
The ground is hostile. There's no easy place in this world, right? Just the cost of living alone for someone landing there. again, I look at the students that go to Canada. There's some support systems out there for them, but when you start reading in the newspaper that the students are committing crime, or students are in tragic situations, right, because they're not prepared for it, it's very unfortunate, right? It's because of I guess the lack of support, right?
And apart from that, of course, you have to deal with racism. That's a reality.
It's a reality.
Like in South Africa, it's xenophobia. But now in the Western world, now it's like, especially, I don't know if America is the same as Canada, but America is
it exists, race, and not just race. I think it exists even more on the faith side of thing, right? Like, it's where if I was to look back there today, right, with what's going on in the world with
Middle East.
The Middle East, and there's a lot of tension in society right now, right?
And I also find it embarrassing. I don't know, where would a Canadian politician win an election if they say that, you know what, Canadians, I'm going to get you a job in another country? Would that work?
No.
So I don't know why they say it, and they say it with pride, and I'm there.
Well, and again, like, I think here in Kenya, the pushback from the youth around the time of those statements was the data come out with the number of people graduating, right? Here I am with how many university graduates and are coming out today, and how many jobs are available? There's a mismatch of supply and demand there, right? We've got way too many people graduating for the jobs available. Right?
And I think it's also, there's a friend of mine, he's a stand-up comedian, and he has a show this Saturday. It's just that you don't understand Swahili. There's an ad I invited you. But he has this joke where he says that we don't want to leave and go to the other countries. You take the job, like he was telling the president, just take the job. We are cool here. We are cool. We don't want to leave. We just want to work home. And yes, and this is what now the like remote jobs, they skip that step of going to other countries, and just even the weather. Like if you're used to Kenyan weather, which is next to perfect,
beautiful. Beautiful.
Now you go to extremes, too hot, too cold.
Right.
You're like, So the program was called Finya Computer Upate Dollar.
Okay.
And that means press the computer and get the dollar.
Yes.
So I guess EIA, that's different, yes? You're not trying to tell us to do that, yes? Okay. So Darcy, as I was saying, man, thank you for your time. And good luck in your venture, and say hi to Eve. I call him Eve.
You're welcome.
Yes.
And really enjoyed meeting you here today and spending the time with you.
I'm
sure we'll be in touch more often.
We'll be in touch, and we'll talk more. I think after the Canadian elections, I need to call you, and then we'll see what happens. I hope hopefully Trudeau
could be
survives.
Next week.
You don't see Trudeau surviving till next year.
No, well, I think they're on Christmas break now. I would bet that as soon as the House resumes, he will prorogue government, right, and then maybe do a leadership shuffle. He'll drag it out as long as
How many terms does Prime Minister normally have? Because I know in America it's 2 terms.
In America, it is 2 terms. It's capped at 2 terms. I believe it is. In Canada, there's no cap, right? This is his 10th year. Right. Right. And you look around the world, and not a lot of governments last longer than 10 years in a democratic society. Right.
Because we're trying to see if we can get rid of our guy in 5 years. We don't think it's going to happen, but so there's that too. But imekuwa ni episode 3 Azizi, imekuwa ni episode moja special, na kama kawaida vile susemaga, like, subscribe, hit the notification button, tell a friend to tell a friend, tukimalizia tukisema ekonene.